to a brand new episode of Sequel Rights, the podcast where we take a look at the franchises that make you go, they made how many of those? And we give each and every sequel a fair trial. My name is Justin Camps, and I'm here with...
Elizabeth Helly.
And...
Tyler Hymanson.
And we're here kicking off another brand new franchise.
We're done with singing.
No more singing. Songs are horrible.
Except that we gotta sing the main theme to this new movie.
No,
one of the most famous themes.
We chose a movie with no songs.
Only British character actors.
That's right. We're
And
done.
Dennis Quaid.
Yeah.
We did a twofer and it's over.
It's
Just
over.
like that with a blink of an eye.
Unless they decide to go again.
That's right.
Again.
Yeah. Let's hope not. Anyways, so yeah, we're here kicking off the Dragonheart series. When I was like trying to get everybody to, we were all trying to kick around ideas.
This is one of the movies that I was like, they made one of those?
Yeah.
They made one?
I was like, I feel like we need to do like a big fantasy series.
Yeah. And you were right.
It's
But
just
after
totally
seeing this
different.
movie, maybe you were wrong.
They don't make them like this anymore. That's for sure.
I'm excited to walk our way through this one.
You get names on this. You get Rob Cohen, director of Hurricane Heist. You get Phil Tippett, dinosaur supervisor from the Jurassic Park series.
Yeah.
He had one job.
He had one job and fucked it up.
Yeah. Well, if you've ever wondered what a Dragonheart might look like, why don't you take a look at this trailer?
"1,000 years ago, there lived a man of honor and a creature of legend.
He's the greatest dragon slayer that is. I personally have seen him slay almost 2 dragons.
Haven't had this sort of challenge in some time.
Not likely to again.
They were 2 sworn enemies,
How do you like the ride so far?
I will rid the world of every last one of you.
I am the last one. If you win, you'll be out of work.
who formed an extraordinary alliance.
I hope you like it well done.
This knight, he's no dragon slayer.
We made a bargain, remember? 1 dragon put down, 1 bag of gold.
Well done, boy. That's even bigger than the last.
Whoa, it's getting hot in here. That dragon's breathing fire right in my face. It looks so real. Wow, what'd you guys think of that trailer? Did you watch it?
No.
Yeah, we just did, right?
I didn't watch it, but I feel like I did.
So the year is 1996.
It is 1996.
It's the year of Mission Impossible.
It is.
It's the year of Twister.
It's after Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
It is way after Jurassic Park.
We'll get to that later, actually.
Yeah, that's kind of its main characteristic.
But, yeah. So this is Dragonheart, starring Dennis Quaid.
Yep.
And the voice of Sean Connery.
Of Sir Zardox, Zardos.
It is a original story, not based on any previous property, and it's a major fantasy film, which is something that literally would not happen today.
Yeah. And it takes place legend adjacent.
Season of the Witch.
Yeah.
That movie basically never happened, though, so. Seventh Son.
I know, I was trying to think of that one.
Yeah.
I was like, did that movie ever come out? Got delayed like 6 times.
This movie starts with the trope that you always love to see in these medieval movies, where there's people fighting in the ruins of castles, where
Yeah,
you're supposed
even
to
though,
be in the
yeah.
time of where these castles are real.
Well, yeah, so the reason that is because they decided they wanted to place the movie in the Dark Ages, kind
Right.
of like the 9th century, right?
After, they keep referencing Arthur, like that already
Yeah,
happened.
it's like 940 AD or something.
Sure.
And the location scouts, like the goal was to try to find some of those structures that are still around, and there aren't really that many structures from
Right.
that time period. And this was one of them that they could shoot at, and it was kind of ruins.
And it's so it's true to the time period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that even though like they're in the 940 AD or whatever, it's still already ruins. But
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, plot-wise, the king wants a new castle. Like, they explain it and it makes sense. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh no, this movie doesn't have a budget.
I thought it was a cool. I mean, when you learn that it's a real location,
Sure.
In I don't remember where they were, but Scotland or something. But I thought that was pretty cool.
I've been to one that looks really like this, but I'm not sure if it's the same one. Like outside of Stonehenge, there's like some castle from the Charlemagne days.
Yeah, and we got to talk about like the crazy stuff going on in the opening credits. The names are going by like directed by Rob Cohen. We got Dennis Quaid. We got Pete Postlethwaite. We got David Thewlis.
Yep.
Sean Connery.
Yep.
And then, like, as Tyler mentioned before, it's like Dragon Designs by Phil Tippett. And I was like, holy shit.
Yep.
Nice. And all the while, we get, this crazy, iconic score theme coming through.
Within like 5 seconds of the first time, I was like, that's that song.
Which I'm entirely interested if you guys recognize it. Like, I think it's insanely recognizable.
Absolutely.
If you saw this movie when it came out, like the ensuing years, this song, let me pull up the name of the song here. It's called the track from the soundtrack by Randy Edelman. The song is called "The World of the Heart" and "To the Stars." Yeah, both of them. But they were used in film trailers. I particularly remember them being used in a million montages of like
Oscar montages.
The movies this year. Look at how fantastical they were.
Honestly, while I was watching this, I thought that this movie had taken this song, and this song was not like it was like a Simon and Garfunkel like The Graduate situation. Where I was like, oh, well, this certainly was not made for this.
The whole time you're like, no, this isn't from Dragonheart.
Apparently, it's like one of the top 3 like most reused songs for montages and trailers.
They used it at the closing credits for the Olympics.
Yeah. And then I think this past year or the past 2 years of the Academy Awards, there's been like all those ridiculous montages, and they definitely used it. And then apparently it was like even used in the trailer for Mulan, which is probably where I first heard it, even though I don't really remember.
It's iconic, you guys.
It is.
You watch this movie and like do a double take on the music, basically.
No, I absolutely did.
Whoa, what?
But there's definitely other music in this movie that's very bad.
Yeah,
there's some music that really I was like, whoa, this sounds exactly like a track from Neverending Story or something, like which is amazing. It's a masterpiece. So I don't mean that as a
this
insult.
movie has no idea what type of movie
that is its main characteristic. I would say.
Yeah. So we meet Dennis Quaid's character, whose name is Bowen or something.
Bowen.
And he doesn't.
The Knight of the Old.
He's
Bowen.
not sure where he's from. Is he from
Bowens
Scotland?
in space.
Bowens in space. I know, the whole time I was like, are they saying Bowie?
How you doing out there?
Is he from Scotland? Is he from England? Is he from the Wild West?
Is he a pirate? I know. I was like,
is he a pirate? Is he a
my notes are like Dennis Quaid coming in with a pirate voice. Right.
His voice changes literally every line. He goes from being like Merida in Brave, who is also in this movie, by the way.
She absolutely
he goes from
is.
having like a heavy Scottish accent to just having his regular voice to like going back to his Texas roots. Like there's one part where he says to the dragon, like, we gotta get like your skinny hat out there or whatever. And I'm like, why did he become like a cowboy all of a sudden? Like
his literal first line is like, "Arr, you gotta remember the pirate code."
Those are more like guidelines.
I mean the knight's code. Sorry, the old code. Old code. I was like, God, they say old code a million times.
He is the knight of the old code.
Yeah.
And he's training.
Here be
I'm Dennis Quaid.
Here be the old code. Don't use your sword like that.
You abide by the dragon's code.
His pupil in training is basically like the fast food worker kid from The Simpsons. Like, he's like a pimply, really skinny, redheaded kid.
My dad's in trouble.
So you see him training this wimp, and then you get word that the peasants. speaking in a pirate voice. You get word that the peasants are rebelling.
I mean, another pirate comes up and says, "Aye, the peasants be rebelling."
and
Everyone's pirates in this movie.
and the young prince that Bowen is training is excited about this. He's like, "Oh, they're rebelling," and he's like, "Oh, well, let's go like smote them."
He's got a taste for blood, man.
Yeah, he's got,
Yeah, he's like the
just like Columbus. He's got the bloodlust.
typical fantasy prince trope of like, I want to get out there and fight and kill people, and then immediately get scared when he gets out there.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
Like what's his face from Game of Thrones, like those guys.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
So he rides off to the fight where everyone's getting fucked up. The king is going around on a horse, and he falls for a trap.
Yep.
Classic peasant trap.
Classic purge trap.
They're hiding in their thatch. He's like, I'm going to set these thatch roof houses on fire. And then turns out the peasants were in there all along.
That's right.
They come out and surround him, and they kill him pretty quick.
He gets a little stabberoo.
Yep. And the prince, whose name is Einan, I think,
Einen.
he comes in like
Einen ain't linen.
greedily, like immediately grabs.
Yeah,
the-
he ain't all too shook up over the death
He's
of his
basically
father.
like, "Hey, you alive?" And he doesn't say anything, so he takes the crown.
Yeah.
And then the dad like comes alive and tries to wrestle the crown away from him, and the kid's like, "No, you're
Yeah.
dead now. It's mine."
This movie takes
done.
such great pains to make this little fucker be evil as fuck.
Yeah.
Like he's Joffrey before Joffrey. Like he is like the Joffrey Foundation.
And then he runs away with the crown, and immediately some girl jumps off a platform on accident and pushes him into like a stick that's like
weapons
sharp
rack, yeah.
that stabs him in the heart
Yeah.
completely on accident. She's just like running away, and she looks exactly like Merida.
Yeah.
and does not change appearance throughout the rest of the movie.
And like she takes off her.
She doesn't age.
no.
She's wearing like a bucket on her head for some reason, as a helmet, I guess. She takes it off, and I thought the guy was gonna die because he got stabbed or whatever.
The reveal is like, oh my god, this dude's gonna die. Oh my god, she's a
It's a
woman.
girl, and
I
put,
thought we were going to get like a warrior queen situation, which would have been an infinitely better movie, P.S.
I put in my notes: Prince gets first boner, dies immediately.
No, my notes were, at least I got penetrated by somebody beautiful. It's all I ever wanted.
We're both like sex jokes.
LOL.
It's a girl. LOL. Yeah, and he gets carried off the battlefield and taken to his mom,
Yep. Famous actor.
Julie Christie.
Julie Christie.
Yeah, Julie Christie, who apparently, fun fact, signed on to the movie because her and David Thewlis have the same agent.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And apparently she hadn't done these kind of like American productions in like 20 years or something.
And then they both fired that agent.
I mean, I don't think so. The movie did really well.
Did it?
Oh,
Spoiler
wow.
alert. Yeah.
Okay.
They made how many of these?
Spoiler alert, the Oscar-nominated movie did really well.
All right, Suicide Squad.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. And basically, yeah, Julie Christie's like, I have a way to fix him. And they hustle off to a cave.
Yeah, like he's dying, and then like everyone's like, "You leave, Bowen, you stay because you know the old code." Yeah. And then like they're like,
They
"Oh,
hadn't
we
reached-
can't, he's gonna die. We can't." Bowen's like, "He's gonna die. I know he's gonna die. I've seen wounds
He's done
before."
for. He's done for.
And then they look at a vial of like, I was like, "Oh, they're gonna use like dark magic.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna be like possessed." But the vial, fuck that, has nothing to do with
The
it.
vial,
Then
I
there's
think,
some-
looked like a dragon.
yeah, and then there's some figurines of a dragon, and they're like, yeah, that's the one. Like,
And they hop on their pirate ship and sail off to a cave.
Yarg. So they go and talk to a shadow.
Although I sort of liked that they didn't show the dragon right away.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they kept it mysterious.
Well, this movie's premise is based off people having very short-term memory.
yeah,
That's true.
Oh my god.
Turns out Sean Connery's hiding in a cave nearby.
Yep.
So it turns out that Julie Christie knew that her husband was kind of a dick and a bad king, and he had killed a bunch of
As
dragons.
most queens did.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
much. But she still wants to save her son, even though he's a little shit for some reason. So she
She
makes
believes
the deal.
that Bowen has taught him the old code and that he is a good man.
Yes. So they
Yeah,
try to convince the dragon to save the kid's life.
Yeah, Sean Connery's like, "Is that why you've come, Dragon Slayer's wife?" And she's like, "Dragon Slayer's widow to you, sir." I don't think she said to you, sir, but she did say.
But it was implied.
She did say Dragon Slayer's widow.
Yeah. And so like Sean Connery's hesitant about it, and then the Queen and Bowen convince him that this is
Well, and the kid like agrees to it.
He swears an oath.
Yeah.
And they convince him like, no, we've taught him. He's going to be a friend to dragons. He's going to be a friend to the people. He will bring honor back to the land.
Yeah.
But we as the audience know that he's the little shit.
Mm-hmm.
And we are right.
We've seen it. I love
This is one of those movies that has like the audience knows so much more than the characters, and
Oh
it's
my God,
infuriating.
Yeah. They don't know anything.
Yeah.
Like Dennis
Yeah.
Quaid is the dumbest. Like short term. Maybe all that fighting like messed up his short term memory.
He only has brains enough to remember the old code, which he also forgets at certain points. But that's all he needs to think. He's always thinking about the old code.
Old code.
I mean, honestly, though,
code.
if you heard a dragon with the voice of Sean Connery, you would not forget that voice.
No.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And the dragon picks up the fucking sword. Like, he sees the dragon.
Yeah.
We don't see the dragon because they can't fucking
can
afford
clearly
to show
see
it.
the dragon.
Yeah.
Dennis Quaid's character is just racist. He thinks all dragons look the same.
I mean, well, okay. Here's a thought.
Yeah.
We don't hear any of the other dragons talk. What if they all sound like Sean Connery?
Oh, all dragons are from Scotland.
They might sound like Sean Connery. All
That's true. That's true.
I do
Justin,
look-
have you been talking to Steve Mnuchin? Are you saying that everyone sounds alike?
Yeah, I have a hard time differentiating between my friends' voices on the phone. Tyler?
I'm sorry I categorized it that way. I thought that would be funny, and now I feel gross about it. I backpedal.
So I kind
Fuck
of
you,
like.
Steve Mnuchin.
I kind of like. So this is the first of many of these kind of like super magical scenes where the movie is like really reaching for this like wonder and like kind of gets there, and you kind of go, oh, like it's kind of being wonder, a little bit of wonder
It's
here.
It's look at you.
Yeah, but then like the
It's like when a 7-year-old draws a superhero. And like, look at that. He's got the cape and everything.
but like the effects and some of the goofiness like kind of like cuts it off at the knees a little bit.
I thought the effects were okay in this one, like where they heal his wound, basically.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I'm just saying it's going to become something I'm going to talk
the
about
movie,
later.
the tone is incredibly uneven because
you
because
never know.
because the prince is and the eventual king is evil.
Yeah.
like he is evil. There is slavery. People's eyes are stabbed out of their heads, and then there are dick jokes and hijinks.
Yeah, buddy comedy stuff. Yeah. But I do like, you know, what Eliz said. Like, they don't show the dragon. You can kind of see him in shadow and see that he's talking with his mouth like a human. But I love this. Like right before he does the whole like the whole thing is that he cuts out half of his dragon heart and puts that half into the boy to kind of like bring him back to life. But I love this line. It's like such a cheesy line, but if I was a kid, I'd be like, this is so cool. I love when, you know, Sean Connery's like, witness the wonders of an ancient glory. I thought that was a cool line. I'm doing a terrible Sean Connery impression.
It is. So yeah, the dragon. So the prince dies. He straight up dies, and then the dragon sacrifices half of his heart.
But it's so funny because Dennis Quaid is so like volatile that the kid like they're like, please save the kid, and he's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it. But then the kid dies, and Dennis Quaid is like, you let him die. I swear revenge on you. And then like 5 seconds later, they bring him back to life again, and then he's like, oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, I pledge the old code. Just kidding. Like it's like, what? Like,
And then we get a time jump, and turns out that this prince is a little cunt.
but
12
it's just
years
like
later.
no, it's like not even that. It's like a scene that's only a little bit later because he's still played by the kid actor, and he's like that's when he's like stabbing the eyes, and then Dennis Quaid's like, "Oh, you're evil because of this one thing that I see, and so now I'm gonna leave forever." And it's like, what?
And then
he's
suddenly
like,
it's 12 years later.
yeah, because Dennis Quaid sees the kid do one bad thing, and I'm sure we're supposed to assume that there's been many things, but it's so abrupt. It's like a 2-minute scene.
It's like he's cut to like they're building a new, like they're mining a new castle or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's so fast, and as soon as he decides that the kid is evil, he immediately goes, well, this must be the dragon's fault. I swear the rest of my life I'll kill all dragons.
This is the scene where they say the word code like a million times.
Yeah.
He's like, Dennis Quaid's character stops him and he's like, remember the code. And then the kid goes, the king is above the code. And then Dennis Quaid's like, no one's above the code. I'm just like, writing him in my notes, the code, they're going to talk about the code again.
But yeah, immediately once he swears off the kid, he just assumes that the dragon's heart turned him evil.
Yeah.
Even though he was
him.
a little shit the entire time.
Yeah.
And so the Dennis Quaid like just is like, I'm gonna kill all dragons now. I swear I'll dedicate my life. And then it like zooms out.
It makes Bowen look like a fucking idiot.
And then it's like 12 years later.
I was like, oh shit, okay. I said, whoa, 12 years later?
Yeah.
In my notes, like,
So abrupt. Like, I understand why they thought they needed to do that, but even just not showing it at all and maybe like talking about it in exposition might have made it seem less ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like if he had some emotional scene where he was like, over time he just became more and more evil and I didn't know and I couldn't get through to him, and like something like that. But this is just ridiculous.
I mean, the thing that ends up happening in this movie, and I mean, it's cutting ahead, but Bowen and Sean Connery end up grifting villages.
It turns into a buddy comedy for like a third of the movie in the middle.
Where they could have just started there. Like, it's trying to give me this whole thing where I give a shit, and it's just like the prince is evil. Like, he's a dragon slayer. Like, they have a rough. Like, they could have started the first time that they're doing their grift, and I would have been fine.
they were not trying to make Shrek, okay? They're just trying to make a fantasy.
Right. Right.
Oh, I think the guy who wrote the story, like the whole buddy comedy with the dragon and
That was
Knight
the original
part
hook,
of which was
almost.
part of the original reason you want to make it. So.
Right.
It's
like,
interesting that they try to bog it down with all the
That
like
seems like the movie.
King Arthur stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's weird because like the Sean Connery voice, I feel like is really good with all the serious stuff that you said, like the code and this wonder.
Sean Connery
thing.
is killing it in this movie.
Yeah, but then I didn't like it. I thought it was a little bit more ridiculous though when it came to the buddy comedy stuff. That's when I was like, what is he doing? Poor Dennis Quaid was like literally acting with like a stick that had 2 red balls on it.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, oh.
There's a scene where they've met up again for the first time, and as we said, Dennis Quaid doesn't remember him for some reason.
Yeah.
And they get into a fight, and Dennis Quaid has gotten into his mouth and has stabbed the roof of his mouth, and they're kind of in this stalemate. And this whole scene, Sean Connery sounds like he's got food in his mouth or something. And I'm like, the whole time, I'm like, how the hell did they film this? Did they have him like put a banana in his mouth?
Sean Connery's talking about having his tongue on Dennis Quaid's balls.
Yeah, he's like, God, wow.
It's just like so. Yeah, and it's so slapsticky the way that he's like, well, if you move, then it'll stab me, and if I move, then I'll eat you. And then it just fades out and fades back in.
Fades
And
to darkness!
Yeah. He's like, well, I can go 3 days without sleep, and the dragon's like, I can go 3 weeks without sleep.
So yeah, we get. I feel like that we have not even like leaned into. I've been saying leaned into a lot, but like of just how abrupt this transition is, where we get like this intro of like Bowen's a good soldier and knight teaching this prince. The prince is a little shit, and then they have a falling out, and then the movie stops and then starts again.
He literally, apparently, the entire 12 years was just going around killing dragons.
Killing dragons because he thought that the half of the dragon's heart poisoned Enon.
Yeah, Einan.
But yet when he meets Sean Connery Dragon, who's apparently the last of his kind, Sean Connery's willing to just be like, all right, well, let's work together to like scam people.
Right.
Instead of being like, you've literally spent the last 12 years killing everyone I know. Like,
Okay, so it's supposed to be this thing where like he swears to kill all of them, and Bowen has succeeded in eradicating all other dragons.
We see him kill one off screen.
Yeah.
We
There's-
see him kill
There
one
is
off
so much off-screen bullshit
There
in this
is a
movie.
lot of off-screen stuff.
And so when he has his fight with the dragon that'll eventually be named Draco, it's supposed to be this emotional, like, you poisoned the heart of the boy that I trained. Like, the movie tries to make you care and engage on this level, but it immediately starts with hijinks of him like being dragged on a line through a forest. Like,
I thought that was funny.
it's all comedy. Hilarity.
Well, and too, he's like explaining his story to the dragon, and he's like, "This one dragon like poisoned the heart of my prince that I." And Sean Connery Dragon's like, "Oh yeah, really? That's unfortunate. I wonder what dragon did that."
yeah.
You know, yeah. It's
But
so silly.
I like that scene where like Dennis Quaid goes chasing after him, and he has this like contraption that shoots like a bolo or something out of his horse, and then he gets caught on the. He's like. You know, it gets ripped off the horse, and now he's flying through the air, and Sean Connery's like, why don't you visit the forest?
Yeah.
And they go through there, and he's like hitting the different trees.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, watch out. I don't know. I thought it was
I just want to
funny.
hear more of this impression.
I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because it's funny. And it's maybe not funny, but I like to do it.
You definitely have to do the end of the film monologue at the end.
So the movie immediately is just showing how much it doesn't understand the tone that's trying to strike. And so, yes, this is his quest. Draco has this and feels like that he gave up his soul, giving half of his heart to this kid. But while the audience knows where they both stand as characters and where Draco knows, and Bowen's just a fucking idiot, they decide, you know what? Like, let's just make some fucking money for the meantime. And they just does not talk about it.
There's like basically like a montage of them like duping poor peasants. And they even
it's
bring
like-
up the fact
They just stop. Like, they're just like, you know what? Like, okay, so we just watched half an hour of a movie. Fuck all that
Well,
noise.
I think
like,
they-
let's do a fun, like, buddy comedy bullshit.
They make it seem like they came to some sort of compromise when they were like stuck in his
he
mouth.
swore to kill him.
Yeah, but then he's like, maybe we can come up with a compromise.
Yeah, and then it's just so silly because they even bring up the fact that, like, you know, if you keep charging these lords for dragon extermination, they're just going to pass the cost on to the peasants and torture them more.
Right.
And they're kind of like, whatever. And there's, like, scenes where, like, Dennis Quaid shoots a bow and, like, shoots Draco, and Draco, like, grabs the arrow and pretends like it's stabbed him. He's like, and he, like, falls into the water and dies, you know? And
Yeah, and Draco's like, no, that's unjust. We shouldn't do that. And then the next scene is him doing it.
Yeah.
It's pretty ridiculous. But yeah, I agree, Tyler. That was like my number one thought is that, like, is this like a family is this like How to Train Your Dragon? Or is it like Game of Thrones?
it has
doesn't
no
know.
idea.
Yeah, and it just goes back and forth.
Yeah, it is a little bit all over the place, but I do get the sense they were probably going with like a fun, like they want to make an adventure film that has elements that like an entire family could enjoy.
It's one of the movies.
They don't go full on with the violence.
It doesn't have a full grasp of knowing what it's already communicated to the audience.
Yeah.
And so it makes their main character, Dennis Quaid, seem like a dumb fuck.
Yeah.
Well, and
He
kind of a
seems
bad
like the
character.
dumbest
like
person
we said
in the
that
movie.
the original like concept was more of the buddy comedy thing with this scam, and like I feel like that would have been a better movie, and if they had done a lot less of the shithead king and the random girl and the peasants and all that. And it's like just stay more with the the two guys like and their hijinks.
Start the movie 30 minutes in and then develop the characters from there. I'd be far more interested.
Yeah.
And like even like in the third act being like, oh, Bowen actually knew the king. It's like, oh shit, like that's interesting, and not starting with the prelude of. And I'm not rewriting this movie, but like it's just the way that it's presented in the order of the information that is offered makes it seem weird. However, what I would like to talk about, especially in terms of sequels, I really like the idea of Dark Ages after Arthur. So like this is medieval stuff, and Arthur is already superhero lore. Arthur is already legend, and that there's something that people are trying to uphold. And we can talk about the stars. We can talk about
Yeah, we should.
kind of the old legends of this movie. In that setting, I can absolutely see how there's more movies because I think that's fascinating.
I like that this movie does a good job of like doing some world building and like diving into mythology.
Yeah.
Like right off the bat. Like I feel like half of the time that Sean Connery's talking as Draco, he's like he's talking about stuff that's happened in the past or how the dragons used to be and how the knights used to be and King Arthur and because he's like been alive for forever. And I really like, I'm pretty sure I saw this when I was younger because I remember certain things about it. But I feel like, especially, watching it as a kid, I would have been like fascinated by all that stuff. Like, oh man, like this dragon was alive during King Arthur and they go to Avalon and all this stuff. Like, I really liked all that, the inclusion of all that. And it felt like it fit in the film and, made it a little bit more interesting as I was watching through.
It's weirdly pertinent, and there's something that I enjoy about any movie where there was like, we're better than what this is.
Yeah.
We're better than what's happening, and there was a time where things mattered, and there was a time where there was honor and valor, and there's people that on all it takes to bring those times back is for people to believe in what's right and what's good.
Yeah, it's not always easy to do the like, this is the world after the mythology, kind of thing. Like as we see
it's
in
a bold choice
in Transformers: The Last Night, it's not super easy to do, and make it like seem interesting and like something that kind of gives more magic to the film.
Right.
So I thought that was cool.
And they really took pains to try and make it like weirdly historically accurate too. Like right down to the like women's outfits are ugly as all hell. Like they are wearing sacks and like covering up. Like the queen's outfit is like a piece of fabric with a headband that's covering her entire body.
Absolutely.
And like even the love interest Merida girl, like her outfit's not really cute or sexy either. And it's just like, because they're really like, well, yeah, that's probably what women would have worn back then. It's not like your typical, like Guinevere princess, like sexy outfits or whatever.
Yeah, well, the costume design for the movie was actually kicked off by I think her name is hold on here. I believe her name is Anna Shepard. Yeah, Anna Shepard. And I think she got really ill during the production and had to step back, but she was the costume designer for Schindler's List. So she's like she's on board for doing like historically accurate stuff and like doing a great job with it. So
yeah, because like as a costume designer or designer of any type, it must be very hard to resist doing a really cool princess costume. Like that's everybody's bread and butter. Like, oh, beautiful, Julie, awesome princess costume, and then it's like, oh no, just kidding. Put sacks on them.
Yeah.
It does set up like a good dynamic between Bowen and the king, and
I think they did the 12 years jump just because they wanted to get to David Thewlis.
Yes, that's right. So David Thewlis takes over as the king,
and he is fucking awesome.
He's fucking.
I'd watch him in
as
everything,
shit.
and he's great in this.
Fargo season 3.
I know, yeah.
Watch it.
Watch it immediately.
I didn't finish it,
but he's great as this like sniveling like evil king.
Yep.
And I thought they did a good job of actually matching like the younger actor to him. I was like, oh yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny when I was actually like looking to see what other stuff this younger actor had done. Like there was a lot. His name's Lee Oakes, but there was a lot. Like one of the top search results was like Lee Oakes, Harry Potter. Like and I was like, what?
That's hilarious.
Because like people were confusing him with David Thewlis.
Yeah, that's so funny. Wow,
that was like one of his top 5 search terms or whatever.
That's really funny. David Thewlis hamming it up in this. But to great effect, I think.
I think that they really leaned into. They almost do too good of a job of making him so evil that it makes the fun, light tone of the rest of the movie ring false. And I think that maybe that's just a deficit of his amazing performance.
Yeah, he captures our heroine.
Merida,
or I think I know I had that same thought too. I was like, "Holy shit, she looks exactly like Merida."
I want to say her name's Kara.
Where are her bear brothers?
Yeah.
She gets captured in this whole creepy like sexual assault scene where
Oh
he's
my
like,
God, yeah.
where he's like, "Pity me, teach me? And he like,
Well, and he remembers the fact that she almost killed him when he was younger completely on accident, and for some reason that makes him more
He's
sexually
so
attracted to her.
evil.
Yeah, and
he's
he,
like,
like,
oh, you tried
kisses
to
her
kill
and
me,
it's
like, and you hate me, and I just killed your dad, but like, let's F. You know?
yeah, it was so unnerving, that scene, but I was like, okay, that's a great performance.
Yeah.
Making me feel like that.
Yep.
But yeah, he did great. She did great. You want to say anything more about her, Kara?
I mean, it was just sort of weird how
She's
like
kind of not a character.
yeah, they really like shoehorn her in. Like there's no reason for her to have been the one that caused that wound for him when
Right.
he was little. And then it's even weirder that that like turns him on, I guess, later. And it was kind of interesting. I did think it was interesting how he's like, oh, she's gonna be my queen now, even though she hates my guts. And at some point, the mom comes in and helps her escape, and it's like, I'm not gonna let the same thing that happened to me happen to you. Like, I thought that was interesting. I was like, I want to hear more about that, you know.
Right.
Like, but they didn't really, you know, go with it. And then later, like in the second half of the movie, when she's, you know, going around with Draco and Dennis Quaid, there's like this tension between them two, like, you know, which I'm like, isn't he way older than her and the king? But and then they never really go forward with it either. It's just kind of like
It's weird. Like, she's
yeah.
there as the, hey, we need sexual tension in this scene, so let's put her in there.
Yeah, but I do like that later in the movie she gets to like fucking kick ass. And
She is very self-sufficient.
She
She's
kills
a badass.
off a couple of the main bad guys towards the
No,
end.
and I almost like that they don't shoehorn it. It's almost like the movie did not have the heart to make her Bowen's love interest.
Yeah, they
but
don't
they
go all the way
still
with
put
that.
the seeds there for no reason.
They
Like,
do.
It
Like,
was
that's the
weird.
thing. It's like-
like there's
it's
a
like-
scene where he's like, "Oh, let me help you sword fight and put my arms around you." You know, like one
Swing
of
the
those
axe
things.
like this. Ooh,
Yeah.
ah.
Yeah.
Just like that.
So it's one of
So,
those things
it's one
that
of those
might
things-
make me think that they were trying to set it up for a sequel if that had been even on the docket at this point
I
in time.
appreciate that it didn't happen, but at the same time, it makes her character go nowhere,
Mm-hmm.
and so she doesn't really have a lot of agency, and it kind of makes her feel like that she's there to be sexy, but she's wearing a burlap sack, and so it's kind of like, okay, that's a character in this movie.
It's interesting. I mean, but I thought the actress was fine, and I liked her actiony parts.
And,
for
they,
sure.
and they made more good choices with her than bad choices.
When we may come back to this actress someday because she's in a bunch of the Saw movies.
Also, Starship Trooper movies.
Ooh, she's all over the franchise.
That's right.
The franchise circuit.
That's
She's
right.
working it.
Okay, so basically what ends up happening is that Bowen and Draco end up having a change of heart and start
Inspired by her too.
inspired by
Yeah.
her. Yep. So Bowen goes to her village after she's come back. She's tried to save her dad and succeeded in only getting him murdered faster, which it doesn't really focus on if like her plan to save him kills him immediately.
I know, that was so messed up. She was like, her dad is blind at this point.
Yeah.
And she's like, don't move it, Dad. Whatever you do, don't
He's
move.
a slave. He's being made to move rocks and shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the whole time, Iwin?
Einen's writing in like the
Yeah,
he's the worst.
He's riding in and he's just like, I'm going to shoot arrows at these people and they're not even going to do anything. And he's like shooting the arrows. And then eventually, like she tells him to hold still, don't move. And then the fact that she does that, he ends up just getting shot in the heart.
She tries to appeal to the king and say, hey, he's blind, he's old, like, he's going to die soon. Can you just let him go?
She shows up after 12 years to get her dad killed that day.
And he says something like, oh, I heard that death is the best freedom or release.
Oh no,
or something.
he's always yeah. But Einen's whole thing is like death's not a punishment; it's a release.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
So basically, we find out that the big, thing we need to deal with is that because they're sharing two halves of the same heart, when you hurt either Draco or the king, it hurts both of them, basically.
Right.
And so if you kill one of them, they're both going to die.
And the dragon's gonna live forever.
So that means that Einen's also
Gonna
gonna
live
forever. Yeah, so that's kind of a little predicament
That's
they
right.
got themselves in. Since he's such a bastard.
which means Bowen has to sleep with Draco.
And that's how the movie ends.
They find true love. They have old code dragon babies.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, what's the old code? Tell me the old code.
Tell me the old code. Tell me the old code.
Yeah, there's a lot of arguing about what should we do, what should we not do, should we lead the peasants, should we fight, should we kill him, should we kill you, so on and so forth.
Because the character's so ill-defined except for how evil the king is. Everyone's like, wait, what do we believe?
Yeah.
So we get like, and they figure it out on screen, but they don't, but they do.
At some point, they go back to the Arthurian castle ruins, and there's a scene where Dennis Quaid is screaming the old code, and
They go to Avalon itself,
Which is cool.
where the shadows of the Round Table.
Yes, they
Knights
go.
are.
They go to Arthur's castle, and
I wrote it down.
The problem with this, I just want to say, like, the problem with this is that because of the 12 years later cut is so abrupt, you do not believe that, like, Dennis Quaid has lost his way with this code. So this moment where he comes back to it and believes in it again, like, I love the idea of these old legends and they've fallen out of favor and people don't believe that the world used to be a better place, and believing that people are better than this is something that's worthwhile. Like, that's a theme that I'm all about. But this movie doesn't sell it, and it makes it seem silly, and so that when Dennis Quaid says the words that Camps is about to say, it does not work.
So let's say, like, so in the middle of the night, Dennis Quaid wakes up.
Yeah.
And it's like, all of a sudden there's creepy lights. And
Well, he's already said, I'm not going to help you guys. Screw you. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm going to go make Frequency.
Where he's all like, Dad? Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Dad?
Jesus is like Dad. Isn't Jesus in that movie?
Yeah.
James, what's his name?
Caviezel?
Jim
Caviezel.
Jim Caviezel.
Jesus is in that movie, you guys. Anyway, so in the middle of the night, he goes and has a vision of King Arthur kind of like on this pillar. And I just want to say King Arthur is like, voiced by Sir John Gielgud, who's like this famous, super famous British actor.
He's an EGOT, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And he's so he does the voice of King Arthur here, and he kind of has them recite the old code again. And here's what he says. I don't know if this is the full code, but he says, "A knight is sworn to valor. His heart knows only virtue. His blade defends the helpless. His might upholds the weak. His word speaks only truth. His wrath undoes the wicked." Undoes the wicked.
Yeah.
Damn it, I fucked it up. And that's it.
His oath ends abruptly.
And to always live by the Girl Scout law.
Pack it in, pack it out, Boy Scouts.
A scout is trustworthy. Yeah, totally. And I thought that was a kind of a cool scene, and then all of a sudden, like, Draco comes out from behind the...
Wait, was he fucking with him?
I know, that's what I thought. I was like,
did he trick him?
does the voice...
Because like there was a
is
light
kinda
that came
similar.
out, and it's like, was Draco just trying to let it out? So so basically, Bowen decides, all right, well, I'm gonna train everybody, and we're gonna rebel, and we're gonna do this thing because, of course, because he's a good guy. Like, he's never not a good guy.
And they got a dragon on their side now.
That's right.
They can fucking do it.
And so they rebel. They do okay.
There's a whole bunch of battle scenes. We haven't talked really much about Pete Postlewaite's priest character, but he's
Brother
totally
Gilbert?
completely expendable and just like confusing. And again, I don't know what tone they're trying to strike with this guy.
We also have not talked about the captain of the Discovery.
Huh?
Jason Isaacs?
Yeah.
Oh.
Who looks James McAvoy as fuck in this movie. It's like he's super young and he's rocking this beard. I was like,
That's the funniest thing you've ever said.
I was like, dude looks like
he
James
does look James McAvoy as fuck.
That's my first thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't really understand what like this priest was like somewhat conflicted about the violence.
No,
Not really.
he was okay. So the priest was a Arthur like nerd, and his whole thing is that there's nobody worth writing legends about.
Okay.
And so he meets Bo, and he's like, "Oh my God, here's my chance. I can write. Here's someone who's heroic and virtuous and true that I can write sonnets and ballads about." and so he meets him, and he tries to, and he fucks up and does whatever. But because he's a monk, he's conflicted about violence.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he's supposed to be like part of the comic relief.
Yeah, because there's this part where he's like shooting arrows from a higher vantage point, from the high ground in the battle, and like
I have the high ground.
Don't try it, Draco. Don't try it.
We cannot mention the high ground in this podcast.
Yeah.
Draco, don't even try it.
Don't even try it.
He shoots some guy in the ass with an arrow, and then says, "Turn the other cheek." It's oh my
Like he's
God.
talking
I really
about
hope he
Jesus
wasn't
somehow.
Catholic.
Yeah, and then later there's like this whole thing where he's gonna shoot the king with an arrow, and he's like, "Thou shalt not kill," and then he like shoots him, and I'm like, "What? Like,
Yeah, but then he doesn't kill him because he's still alive. So it's fine.
He shoots the dragon part of his heart.
Right. It turns out that, Brother Gilbert is just a fucking marksman.
Yeah, he sucks.
Master archer. He shoots he shoots arrow for the first time, headshot. Second time, ball shot.
So yeah, that's when
Those are the only two places.
the king starts to figure out, oh shoot, I'm like attached to the dragon, because he sees the dragon go down when he gets shot, and then he has his goons tie him down in the castle.
Yeah, and there's this whole thing about how his mother had like hired dragon slayers and
because she was trying to screw over her own son.
yeah,
she was
trying
like,
to
we're
kill him.
going to kill the dragon so I can kill him because I fucked up.
Yeah.
So the end of the movie has like we kind of gloss over this like pretty big battle sequence where like Draco's flying around like shooting fireballs at the what are they called? Battlements? The castle
Yeah.
armament.
Anyways.
Castle bits. Yep.
I guess this is like a good time as any to talk about Draco, like the effects.
We should talk about the effects.
I thought it was actually really, really good.
It looks good. Like the movie's coy with it. Like it slow burns into you seeing him, and then he looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And I thought they did a good job integrating it, like when he's breathing fire, and you see, like, there's some pretty big fire explosions that were not CG that they then
I didn't
put
know
together.
what I thought about how apparently this dragon breathes fire only out of his nose
Yes,
and not out of his mouth.
No.
I was a little bit like, okay.
Is that how that works?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I'm not a dragon expert. Maybe Phil Tippett, if you're out there, come on and talk to us.
There
You
is
can tell
all
us how
sorts of
this dragon
stuff
works.
online talking about the different animals that inspired it. So
Lou
maybe
dog.
it's
or a foo dog. Yeah, there. So
A food dog?
so the whole thing. So there's like really interesting stuff about the whole dragon effects in the special features on the Blu-ray, which apparently are ripped from the Signature Collection Laserdisc.
Oh,
of this movie.
fuck.
So first of all, like I mentioned before, this is an Oscar-nominated film for visual effects.
For our younger listeners, a laser disc is like vinyl, but a CD.
Yes, exactly. That sounds so confusing.
yeah.
It's like vinyl, but it's
the size of a vinyl, the material of a CD,
and you had
it shows movies,
and you had to flip it over halfway through your movie.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, this movie in 1996 gets nominated for Best Visual Effects for good reason. I mean, I thought the dragon looked great. There were a lot of times where I was like, it looks like a plastic toy, but for 1996,
it was really good for that time. I think
pretty amazing. What?
For fine reasons.
Yeah, exactly. Textures.
What won the Academy Award that year?
So the nominees were
Yep.
Dragonheart,
Yep.
Twister,
Ooh.
and Independence Day.
Yep.
The winner was Independence Day.
Wow,
Yeah,
what a
because
great year.
Because it used miniatures.
Yeah, true. So the whole thing. So this is a Universal film, right? Another thing that I am realizing as we're doing all these franchises, like, fuck, we watch so many Universal franchises.
He means Universal, the film company, not
Universal
that if
Studios.
you saw it at a different planet that you would understand it universally.
I mean, we did Tremors, Universal, Purge,
Yeah.
Universal, Mamma Mia, Universal, Dragonheart, Universal.
Well, not Mamma Mia or Purge, but a lot of for Tremors and this series, a lot of it comes to the fact that they had this like Universal 1440 home picture entertainment thing, and so they're the department. Like when we spoke to S.S. Wilson, he said they kept coming back and being like, "Hey, make another one. Yeah, do whatever you want." Like they just figured out that they could make marginal amounts of money with these home video sequels.
Brief aside, guys, I saw an announcement that the first Purge is coming to Universal Hollywood Horror Nights.
Oh, shit.
I did see that as well. I got an email.
So we will
I was going to
probably
say,
discuss
everyone,
that at some point.
Everyone fucking loves the Mamma Mia 3D ride at Universal Studios. It's like I'm on the island.
The Mommy 3D.
So anyways, so this is made by Universal. They're trying to get funding for the project originally, right? And Universal's like, okay, cool, we'll make this movie, but you got to keep the budget down really low. And when they were originally doing tests for the Dragon, they went to Henson Studios and created a full animatronic and filmed the campfire scene.
Muppet.
Yeah. And the Blu-ray has footage of this and it looks awesome. But apparently that was still not cost effective.
Well, for the action, it would.
Right.
Yeah.
Build a Muppet.
Yeah, exactly. So then, in 1993, Universal puts out Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Rob Cohen sees that movie and goes, "That's fucking how you do Dragonheart."
Sure.
There you go. That's it. And so there's this insane thing. So he goes after that, goes and visits ILM to see what they can do.
Yep.
To make because the CGI was used a lot different in that movie. In Dragonheart, they want a full character,
it's full CGI
that is acting and talking and everything.
It is incredible for 1996 for CGI.
So the original early CGI tests for this, since it was a Universal film, they used the T-Rex to animate.
Oh, like he was talking
yeah. So they elongated they took the literal T-Rex from Jurassic Park, elongated its head, and made it be Draco for a few scenes. And there's clips of that on the Blu-ray.
Oh, fuck.
And I was like, holy shit, this looks so funny. But anyways, yeah. So they do that, and great. So now they're gonna go CGI, right? So they film a movie. And then they have another 13 months of dealing with the CGI. But in the meantime, Rob Cohen's going to go off and direct Daylight, starring Sylvester Stallone.
Which is a movie that I rented multiple times from Blockbuster.
Yeah. So they end up setting up a satellite connection between Rome, where they're filming Daylight, and ILM, and so that they can work on the Draco things while he's filming.
Oh, my God.
So they're doing this all over satellite. And I think one of the reasons why they ended up but being nominated for visual effects, not only did they look really good, but as they were doing it, Rob Cohen was finding that he was having to help with performance notes to try to make the dragon seem more like Sean Connery.
Right.
And he went to the length of hiring an editor to go through all of Sean Connery's filmography up to that point.
Yep.
And
screen grab
screen grab all the close-ups of Sean Connery. Then Rob Cohen looked at them and said, okay, this one's rage. This one's happy. This one's, upset. This one's smiling.
Yep.
And they put them in all these categories and then put those clips onto videotapes for the animators. And then, they would be like, oh, he's supposed to be angry in this scene, so let's grab the rage tape and see what Sean Connery looks like. And so they would try to make the dragon look and act as much like Sean Connery as possible, which I think is crazy.
They didn't film him while he was recording?
No,
it's not a thing.
That's so sad.
That's
you're right. It's not.
Yeah. So it's just insane that they went to that point. And I did think it was really funny that the dragon has clearly human mannerisms and stuff.
There's a scene where he really gets that bolo around him where he looks back and sees he's been snagged and he's like, whoa.
Yeah. I was waiting for him to be thumbs up.
But at the same time, I now have an incredible appreciation for this movie in that you're right. It's the first fully CG character that has human emotions, and it was not done through mocap or through reference. It was all done after the fact, and that's incredible.
It's really impressive. And
it looks better than The Rock as the Scorpion King.
Yeah, totally.
Which apparently the same composer did that score, I think.
Oh, really?
Or he did one of... No, sorry, not the Scorpion King, the Mummy. Oh, no, that is. Yeah.
It's the same franchise.
Yeah. Sorry.
Do you even know franchises?
My bad.
No, I'm kidding. But I thought that was all really impressive, and so the visual effects nom feels earned to me.
Yes, no, I think that's absolutely
I thought it looked great, especially for that time, and it kind of holds up. I mean, it looks better than some stuff.
I love, just as a visual effects nerd, and like going to SIGGRAPH like a big like visual effects thing, and you'll still hear stories about like when they brought Jurassic Park there. In a way, I feel like the movies are still trying to catch up to that, and this is the movie that has a lot of the closing that gap. In a way that I feel like sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes in the failure and the ambition of what this movie is trying to get done, there's something that's beautiful and respectable about it. And the way that Draco reacts and is a full character in this movie, and it's believable. That's not something that we're disputing. It's something that's rather incredible and is not something that we get to see in movies.
I mean,
until Gollum.
Yeah, I was
really.
gonna say it's years before that.
Yeah.
What about Jar Jar?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Or the Nemoidians? Yeah.
You're not wrong.
But where
But
people
again, that's 3 years later.
yeah, where people are talking about it on like an Oscar calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any problem that I had with this movie had nothing to do with the effects of the dragon. It was more on a story level.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was. I think it was hard because they were really pushing everything. You know, it has its tonal flaws. It really, really does. But and some of that I feel like is that you spent how much on dragons? Like, we need this to hit a much wider audience. So, like, maybe the notes got softened in that way, and that feels very true.
I think the Draco is in the movie. I think there's like 23 minutes they said of dragon,
and that's
footage.
fucking nuts.
Yeah,
especially for the way effects houses look at these things is like how many shots, right? Mm-hmm. And like even like when they're talking about Rogue One, like Rogue One was the movie that had the most like visual effect shots than any other movie, and 23 minutes sounds fucking crazy just from my experience. So that's incredible.
In that day and age, yeah.
And I love, again, like just getting back to, it is medieval, but it's after the glory days, right? So we're in, and this is kind of a realm of storytelling that I feel like is pertinent in 2018, where it's like, it's medieval, it's knights, but it's after things were good. It's after things that we knew that we're in a better time. We're in the twilight of whatever era that we're in. So I can see how this movie spawned a lot of sequels. Whether that they will capitalize on that, I have my doubts.
Well,
but I feel like that it is ripe for stories.
For all the problems that I had with the tone of the movie throughout, I gotta say, like, that the ending almost made me forgive all of them, because I thought the ending scene was great. Like, and somehow all of a sudden I was like, wow, I feel inspired now, even though I was annoyed with everybody until right now.
Let's so like in order to let's talk about the ending, but in order to talk about it a little bit, I think we need to talk about an earlier scene where we learn about some dragon lore.
That's right.
We learned that not all dragons go to heaven. So the whole reason that his name is Draco is because Dennis Quaid gives him the name based on the constellation of stars.
Draculis.
Yeah, that looks like a dragon.
Yep.
And we learned that that constellation is actually really important to dragons, and that it kind of like forms the place where dragon heaven is, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
But not everybody gets to go there. You have to prove your worth while you're on Earth. Prove your worth while you're on Earth. And that's why Draco gave his heart to Einan, because he was trying to do that exact thing. So, at the end, Draco's captured. The only way to kill Einan is to kill Draco. So there's this great slow motion scene of Einan like madly running at Bowen with a sword, trying to kill him. And there's a little bit of a goofy shot where like Draco lifts up his scale to show his heart scar, and Bowen hits Draco there.
Kills him.
Yeah.
We should mention, too, that previous to this, Einan killed his mother in cold blood.
Yeah, that was messed up. You hear her scream as he...
No, it's like... and that's the main problem with the movie, where it vacillates between Game of Thrones and buddy comedy.
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, instead of just stabbing... I mean, he could have just stabbed Einan and had the same result, right?
I guess?
But
I don't know.
anyways,
They don't really explain.
He stabs Draco, and so Draco and Einan both die, and then all the villagers run in, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And they're all standing there watching Bowen be all sad about.
Yeah,
Draco.
Bowen's like, "What are we gonna do? How are we gonna? Where are we gonna find you? Or like, what are we gonna do?" And he says, "To the stars, Bowen. To the stars." Or he's like, "Where are we gonna look for you?" Or something.
And then
it
goes boo-doo-doo-boop-boop-boop.
Yeah, so this is, like I mentioned in the beginning, there's these scenes that like really get to this like wonder and magical quality, but like to me they're hindered a little bit by the goofiness of the effects.
They're not earned.
Yeah, it's kind of like dives into these things and comes back out. But I did like Eliz said too, I kind of like this ending scene. So like basically Draco dies and he like disappears into like a cloud of glowing
shiny
light.
stuff, yeah.
Glowing light. And it's playing the theme that everyone loves. And
all your favorite actors are dead.
The villagers. yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Look at how they were in life.
Yeah, yep.
All the villagers and everyone is standing there in wonder, looking like, wow. And I feel like the scene is hindered a little bit by the effects. So like the magical glowing light floats up into the sky, up towards the Draco constellation. It becomes a ball, and then all the stars that form the dragon like zoom in and then explode.
But why?
Because that's how you enter Dragon Heaven.
Okay, sure. But then they reform.
They reform, and then
into
you
the
see
exact same shape.
that Draco has been added to
Yeah.
the thing.
Right.
It's like, ding!
Yeah,
He's
and
the second star to the right.
And there's kind of a cool shot of it like reflecting in Dennis Quaid's eyes where
Yes.
like
No,
that was
absolutely.
that was pretty cool.
I liked it. And like part of me is like if you were like way into this movie, you would be like fucking bawling your
No,
eyes
there's
out right
something
now.
incredible about it, about like he did something that was good and just and true, and it's up there forever, and
Yeah.
it's something that you can look up to and say, this is how I'm supposed to live.
Yeah, and I saw this death on a bunch of lists, like of people who saw the movie as kids or
Right.
teenagers that said like this is one of the top 10 saddest
It
deaths
kills
in
the main
film.
character.
Yeah.
Like that's
But yeah, you just wish that there was more build up to being like, I love this character, or
Right.
like this feels like you said, it doesn't feel earned.
yeah.
Because I don't know, there's nothing in the movie that makes me be like, oh my god, I love Draco, like he's amazing.
Well, it's the whole thing where it was just like, I don't remember you, you don't remember me. Let's go make money.
Yeah,
Like that's like that. It's all kind of.
those scoundrels.
It's all based off of how poorly it handles that 12 years later transition.
And there's something though in our society that we just like love dragons and unicorns and magical things like this. And if you think about it, this movie is before Game of Thrones, it's before How to Train Your Dragon, it's before all these other properties that we have now. And so if you were really into that fantasy lore and just the idea of dragons, you may give Draco and this movie more credit than it really has
Yeah, and
deserved.
also
I mean, yeah, but I mean, there was coming off of a golden age of fantasy. I mean, there was a ton of fantasy movies in the 80s.
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
I think you also have to take into account, like we said at the time, the sheer wonder of seeing this
CG,
dragon,
yeah.
this live talking. At the time, people were probably like, "That's a fucking real dragon,"
Yep.
and like seeing something like that is like wowing you on
Yeah.
top of everything. We're watching it now, going like, "Oh well, it looks okay,"
Yeah.
Right.
And so we're not really like fully drawn into.
No, I think it's one of the first
to the film.
fully fledged CG characters.
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, like, I think if you add that layer, people are like,
No, absolutely.
That's why
No,
these
like
lists
I don't.
have
I wish I could
the
have
depth
the
on there.
appreciation that I should have for it, because I think that it is ambitious.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think the ending is a little bit it's well done. I just
Yeah.
think it's hampered a little bit by effects for me, but we get a little Pete Postlethwaite like narrating at the end, like
And then it went on to a golden age where everybody was better for a
Yeah.
little while. kind of
whenever
thing,
it was
yeah.
bad, the light shone brighter. I don't know why I made him sound like Sean Connery.
Everyone's British and Scottish.
yeah. That's the end of Dragonheart.
Well, for now.
Dragonheart 1.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we'll get into ratings and then we can kind of talk about our expectations for what's going to come up next.
So what rating should we give?
What rating shall we give? How many segmented hearts?
You always choose something that then makes me question like what the real number is.
That
like,
way you can say whatever you want and it's never true.
All right.
How many segmented hearts would you give Dragon?
I'm going to give it 6 segmented hearts out of 10 because I kind of enjoyed it. I had forgotten that it had this iconic score, which I know some of you guys thought was cheesy.
I didn't think that.
I mean, okay, the rest of the score
There
is
were
maybe not
cues
great.
that were very bad.
But the main theme is iconic
Yes,
and
the main
stands
theme
the
is
test of
fantastic.
time, and I was surprised because I had forgotten about that. And then I think the effects are great, and it's kind of just a fun movie. Like, whatever, if it was on in the afternoon, TV, have a good time. 6 segmented hearts out of 10.
I'm gonna say the same, even though I feel like I say 6 for every movie. But
Have an opinion.
I
I'm
know,
kidding.
but no, like you just the score alone. Like I was like, oh man, it's so great. But
It's just-
yeah, and I did think the effects were good. Maybe I don't want to do 6, but yeah, okay, I'll say 5 because just the story and the characters are so stupid.
I was at like a 3. Like I did not have an enjoyment in this movie, but like you're right in terms of where it stands in the timeline of just amazing visual effects and just you talking about it. I want to dive into it and like find out all the stories,
pretty
and
cool.
I will. Where I'm like, oh, that should bump me up to a 4, and I guess it will. But like 4 segmented hearts, I just feel like that the uneven tone about it is makes it hard to see how there's more movies in this. And I don't give a shit about Bowen. I don't give a shit about the King. I really hope that it focuses on the time period of what does it mean to be a knight in a time after Legends.
What is the title of the next film?
The next film is called Dragonheart: A New Beginning.
Okay. So
Fuck.
yeah, to
And it
me,
was
it's
released
probably
4 years later.
I'm guessing there's probably 4 years later only. Okay.
It says 2000.
I feel like there's probably very little connection, like not on an open water level where it's thematic, but like probably no characters and just like
We'll find out.
Well, the
there's
fact,
dragons and
yeah,
there's
the fact that it's called A New Beginning makes sense because
Yeah.
okay, if he was the last dragon that killed him, how are they going to move forward?
Right.
Got to go backwards. Go backwards.
well, you gotta go
closer into
backwards
the-
or dragons come back somehow.
yeah, closer into the King Arthur times.
You know, if the eggs are there and hot water gets on them, or
Yeah. After they kill Draco, Bowen put one of his testicles in his sack, and then he's the father of dragons.
you guys.
he gets naked and walks out
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
eggs. Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
I'm just looking at the Wikipedia here too, and there were video games based on this movie.
Oh
On
yeah.
this first one,
Yeah.
how many?
There was a 2D hack and slash game on PlayStation and Saturn called
Hack and sack.
Dragonheart. Did I say hack and sack?
No.
Hack and slash.
But I was
It was
talking
called-
about putting dragon testicles.
It was called Dragonheart: Fire and Steel.
Oh.
There was also a game on Game Boy.
All right. Well, we need to.
I want to
Game
play
Boy.
these games. Yeah.
I can emulate that.
Yeah. There's got to be an emulator.
Anyway, we will see you guys next week, where we'll be discussing A New Beginning.
We'll
but
be-
until that time, Eliz, where can they find us?
You can find all of our episodes at sequelrights.com and email us sequelrights@gmail.com with your suggestions, questions, and thoughts on future franchises that we should be covering. And you can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at sequelrights.
And please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, where we get your podcast. You will save dragon lives with every star that you give us.
Yes. And thanks, as always, to my brother for the music at the top of the show. I'm excited to breathe some fire all over Dragonheart.
I
A
hope
New
that the
Beginning.
Secret Rights theme song is the thing that they play in my In Remembrance montage. So thank you in advance for that, Jordan.
Same.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious. Tyler was much loved.
And just
Scenes
like
of you,
pictures
like-
of me wearing dumb hats.
Yeah, or like tripping on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And then somebody forgets to hit stop, and it goes into "Welcome to another episode
yeah.
of Equal Rights."
Everyone will be like, "Who filmed this?" That's a messed up funeral. I don't know. Well, yeah. Thanks you guys for being here. We're gonna be back next week with Dragonheart: A New Beginning.